I'm so enthusiastic about card magic and magic and all that kind of stuff. It's almost like I would like to talk about it more in like in a forum, and
Like
discuss it
here.
more. Like here.
We're here. We're
Yeah.
recording. Well, here, in two different places at the same time. So people tuning in, this is another episode of The Process. And I got a very nice guest with me, Mr. Paul Gordon.
Hello, Stéphane. Nice to be asked me to be here.
And we did this just at the last second. It's perfect, like impromptu, sometimes when it works out for everyone, because sometimes we're dealing with time zones and stuff like that. And since that Paul is, a new guest, and he jumped on board, as I usually do at the beginning of the sessions like this, I explain what's going to happen going forward so that when new people join into the podcast, they get an understanding of what's going to happen in the next little bit. And same thing for the guests, you're going to know exactly what to expect. So, as the name of the show says, The Process, what I like is to kind of analyze how ideas come about. Okay, so you'd say, yeah, like everyone has ideas, perfect. Yes, this is true. But I also find that there's quality ideas. Okay, so how do you find a way to make your ideas even better? Okay, so I realize that either consciously or subconsciously, there's 5 steps within a process of developing an idea. Okay, so first step is your inspiration. So what people do on a day-to-day regular to be inspired, try to keep that thing percolating if you want. Step 2 would be incubation. So how do you dedicate your time to be able to concentrate on ideas? Like, do you need to sit down, or like you wake up in the morning, it's a rum and coke and a joint like a writer would do, and go and you start off, yeah, exactly, like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and or like whatever you need to do. How do you do? Or some people are like, I work from 9 to 5. I concentrate ideas there, and if there's nothing there, nothing happens, and the rest of the day, I don't do that. Step 3 would be the illumination, the eureka moment. The idea pops in your mind. Okay, when does that usually happen? Is it more like when you're sleeping? Do you meditate? Is it more in the beginning of the day when it happens? Is it like, oh my God, I can put it on a piece of paper and I'll get to it when I wake up? Or it's, I have to get up, I want to get to it right now, and it's blinders until it's finished. Like, what do you do? Step 4, exploration. Recently been describing this as like you're a butcher. You got the idea, it's perfect. Okay, now you got to trim the fat down. You want a nice little fillet at the end. Okay, so how do you do that? Do you want other butchers to come in with you and say, I would trim it like this? Hey, did you notice there's a nerve here? Take that thing out. Or you're like, nope, this is my project. I want it self-sealed. I'm in this, and that's that. And then at the end, you want to, like, the last step 5 is implementation. Some people, they like to have the trip of resolving the puzzles. I had the idea, I managed to fix it, it's working now, next page. Other people are like, nope, this thing, it's not finished. I want it to have a life of its own. I want it to be a commercial product or something that people can buy. So I'm going to break it down this way so that it's viable. So those are like the 5 steps. Okay. Now, Paul Gordon, you're also new for me in a certain sense, new for maybe certain people watching this. How would you describe what you do globally? A magician, a free thinker, a creator, a little bit of everything. Like, how would you describe what you do?
Well, first off, to the folks who have no idea who I am, my name's Paul Gordon, and I've been into magic since the 1960s, since I was a small boy, and deeply into it as a creator, probably from the mid-late 70s. So it's a long time, and I've written 52 books on card magic, and which is a lot of hard work, but very rewarding. But I used to be a professional entertainer, and I did that for 40 years, and I retired kind of with COVID because I thought, well, COVID's going to put the mockers on it anyway, so I might as well get out while the going is good.
Yeah.
But I've been creating magic longer than I've been performing it.
Okay.
And so I came from a background where my school teachers, I've got a report somewhere back here where it says, the teacher says, Paul Gordon seems happy to sit at the back of the class and vegetate. He'll amount to nothing. And I did used to vegetate because I was looking out the window thinking of magic and other things, you know.
Already.
And I was, yeah. You know, as a I mean, not creativity, but I just didn't like school, and I always loved magic and that kind of thing.
When you say think about magic, you see yourself performing something, or you're thinking of a mechanism? Like when you say I'm thinking about magic, because you say I wrote books and I conceive more than I perform. Yeah. Okay. So right after you, is there something where it's the technical element?
Well, no. Kind of what happened was, you know, back in the 1970s, if you went to the library to buy or borrow a magic book, they were always the same, these kind of Victorian books, where it would say that you have to do the pass 50 times to be a good magician. You have to do this, you have to do that. And I always came from a background where you don't have to do anything. If you want to do anything, always kind of go off at a tangent and think for yourself. So I was always thinking, how can I do this this way or that way to suit me, you know? And so I was always thinking, you know, if it has to be done this way, I bet it could be done that way. So maybe I could do it that way as opposed to this way.
That's excellent.
You know,
almost like reverse engineer the thing, break it down, and then you're like, okay, how could these cubes, do they have to be in the same?
Yeah. And I think also because, you know, I'm dyslexic and probably a touch of ADHD as well. But when I was at school, dyslexia, I don't think had been invented. You were called the thick kid or the annoying kid, you know, because I wasn't sporty or anything like that. So I guess kind of the late 70s, early 80s. Like the first published trick I had was in a famous magazine called Abracadabra in 1979. And then I used to contribute to Harry Lorraine's Apocalypse magazine and other magazines.
I was 5 years old.
Ah, you're just a young boy, you see. I come under the old fart category.
the classical ones. Well, at least those sounded nice.
Yeah, so your 5, I hadn't really thought about it that deeply, but your 5 points of creativity are very interesting. Because sometimes you see an idea that somebody else has written and they say, to do this, you have to use 3 double backers, 4 double faces. And then I suddenly think, well, I think I could achieve the same thing with a regular deck. Now, you mentioned, before we filmed, you mentioned my trick, the Muldoon match.
Yeah.
Well, traditionally, it was done with a regular deck, maybe. You'd have to do 3 slides at the very wrong moments.
Oh, my Lord, yeah.
Right at the heat, you know, the heat is on. Yeah. So I thought to myself, this is 35 years ago, Muldoon match first came out. I thought, if I add the gaff, which I won't mention now, but if I add the gaff, it clears up all sleight of hand.
Oh, Lord, yes.
So for, you know, for mentalists or bizarrists, it's ideal, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. Well, the thing too, if people aren't familiar with your work, is that the methods, like you say, you break them down in a way where once that you understand it, you pick it right away.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, yes, your 5 points were excellent. I ought to try to remember those clearer. But one of my eureka moments cost me about $5,000.
Oh, Lord.
I'll tell you what, I was driving the car thinking of magic, and in my head I was going eureka as I was driving into the back of the car in front.
See, that's how, like, it actually, you absorbed it so much. Yes, I could just imagine when the ideas come in, it absorbs in a certain way where it almost it's blinders. Yeah,
it's like, you know, you watch a movie and you're thinking about magic, and then you realize you've not watched the movie at all. You have no idea what's happening.
Yeah.
You know,
Like parallel thinking with what's going on. Yeah. Well, see,
yeah,
even that kind of relates to a certain thing where you know, when they say how time is relative,
mm,
when you're in that moment, I'm positive that there's no sense of time.
yeah, yeah. I know. Yeah,
It's like you're
and it's
lost there. It's like
you're
another,
lost.
yeah.
You're totally, yeah. It's like one of my books 30 years ago was called Nocturnal Creations,
Yeah.
because I used to, I mean, I'd be lying in before computers, I'd be lying in bed with a pad of paper by the side of the bed, waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning, making notes.
See, we just said that in the, see, there's people who
Yeah,
do that. So you do
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. And now I actually do something now, which is it's quite handy that I'll get my phone here. If I come up with ideas whilst I'm out and about,
Verbal note.
I I email myself.
Yeah. Same thing.
Yeah.
My
So I
Lord,
don't,
we're
yeah.
brothers.
I'm the older brother.
Yeah, thank God. Well, look,
Um,
the stress it cost me to try and catch up with you. Incredible. But
um,
so step one, I think, well, so for inspiration, thinking about that, those Victorian books,
mm,
uh, and I find them also to be those books, maybe even more than today, there's an essence to them where when you pick them up, they feel kind of special in a certain,
yeah,
they're different than something else. Even when you read them, the writing, it's not the
yeah.
same. Writing a magic book for people who have never tried, it's not obvious. It's not
It's
obvious.
not obvious. It's very. I mean, I'm very, very fortunate. I mean, I've had some lovely comments from people like Jeff McBride over the
Yeah,
years and Richard Sanders and so on. Because what I try and do with my writing is to keep it as brief as possible, but
yeah,
still detailed and clear.
yeah.
But I also I write for people who find it hard to read.
Yes.
Um, so most of my trick descriptions are in 1 or 2 pages, maybe 3. But I recently purchased a magic book, and the guy took 50 pages to describe each trick.
Oh Lord.
Well, I haven't got the attention for that, and I'm sure a lot of people don't.
But there is also a tie-in where what you just said, the ADHD,
Yeah,
and you turned that into a plus where you said like there's a way of describing this to its pure essence. And
yeah, yeah,
there's so many good things like that came from all those, maybe you would say that they're like downsides, but
yeah,
there's a perspective to this, like alchemy, you know, like you take something to where it's kind of like raw, but within yourself you're able to convert it into something that is useful, you know.
yeah. Well, I think that's the best way to go, isn't it? Otherwise, if you get downtrodden by all these things, you just never do anything, would you? So if you can turn it into a positive, and
Well, then again,
but
that's a testament to your personality because certain
yeah,
people could take that and revolt in a certain sense, yeah. So to use
yeah,
that in a word, it converts into essence to be able to drive you to do things in a positive way. I mean, that's a testament
yeah,
to your personality, you know. So step two, like we were saying just earlier, so step one is inspiration. Step two,
yeah,
incubation. So okay, you have eureka moments as you just mentioned, but when you're a professional, okay.
yeah,
So how do you decide, okay, me, my creativity, it's a lifestyle, it's whenever happens, it's on my terms, there's no order to my day, or I have to have a minimum of structure. I wake up, I have a coffee, I'll meditate, I'll run, and then I'll do my things, like just to kind of like wipe the slate. How do you do like your stuff, or in terms of marinating the ideas?
um. Well, normally, I mean, because I've now retired from performing, I have a lot of time. But I always do. I'm an early riser.
Okay.
Uh, and when I say early, I mean 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
I love the early morning when it's beautiful and light and bright. And the cafes here open at 7 o'clock in the morning. So I go down to the cafe and I sit there with a pack of cards and my phone, and I just sit there gazing out the window, making notes, thinking this, that, and the other. Because if I come back home, the phone starts ringing and the
Yeah.
grandchildren turn
Yeah.
up, and it's too much distraction for me. Um, so and at the moment, Wimbledon's on, so tennis, I'm glued to that. So I like the peace and quiet of just getting out and about and early in the morning. But having said that, sometimes I stayed up, late at night, still right. Sometimes the ideas come quicker than I can write them down,
Okay. Yeah.
you know.
So you
And
have
then
multiple
sometimes,
projects streaming at the same time?
well, not projects, but just what I kind of do is as I come up with trick ideas, I write them down. I then hone them in writing wise. I then try and perform them a few times for at least somebody to knock off the edges, and to fine tune them. And then maybe a year down the line, they might end up in a new book of mine. So it's
so you just said there's a timeline it could take to maybe a year, that kind of like part there.
yeah, it's you see, if somebody buys a book of mine from say this year or last year, the idea is probably from like 2 or 3 years prior, because I like to think them out, work them out, and then I'm sure like you, sometimes you come up with a fantastic idea and then you eventually decide on the fact that it's a load of rubbish. So you discard it.
It can happen, yeah, for sure, yeah. Well, then again, that comes again to the personality where it's important for you that what goes out is tried and tested.
Yeah.
That is not everyone who does that, because we're also in a society of like consumerism, where the teasers are incredible now. I mean, everyone could do a super nice flashy thing with like great music. Reactions now, you could fake that, but when it gets down to you getting the actual product, sometimes the edges aren't that well trimmed out.
Well, can I say something about that?
Of course.
Now,
words are permitted, just by the way.
Well, all of the trailers I've done, or teasers, no, not teasers, just trailers or promo videos, or trick videos, I don't edit any of them.
Yeah,
they are literally what you see is what you get.
Exactly.
Even if it's the detriment of somebody backtracking what I've done, I'm just totally up. They are performance videos or to camera videos, because I don't want somebody to buy something and go, well, I don't know, it looked like this and I thought it was going to be that. I don't want people to be disappointed, because I know a lot of magicians are very disappointed by the magic they buy on impulse from a video that is probably a little bit dodgy.
Yes.
I don't like that. So it's
Well, then well, I guess it's because at the end of the day, you want to have a certain pride of having your name on something too.
Well, yeah. I mean, and also I just don't. I don't think it's fair. I think it's if you produce a video that is, I mean, mine are very raw, as you might have seen some of them, but they're very raw. They are literally, I'm performing for the camera, or it's a live gig shot. I don't.
Real, but it's real.
Yeah, there's no smashing bang, whiz bang music. There's no dark glasses walking to camera. All that kind of stuff.
I'll add that. When our next project, I'll add those dark glasses for you, and I'll take care of it. Yeah. Leave that up to me.
I'll pretend I'm chewing gum and all that kind of stuff. I'll get some tattoos across my forehead.
Yeah. No, you'll be great. I'm sure you'll be you'll be like the next the next fashion model in magic. Yeah.
So that's
So incubation, and so that would mean, like you were just mentioning earlier, Eureka. So you're able to write that on a pad and get back to it, or sometimes you have to start right away.
Oh, I have to start right away. The older I get, I have to start straight away. Otherwise, I have to write. I have to make sure it's legible to me.
Yes.
Instantly. Otherwise, I will look at it and think, what was that all about? So. I think it's just the way. I mean, back in the old days, back before computers, or before I had a computer, I used to have to write everything down longhand, pen and paper, and then I had to type it on a typewriter. And then when I used to write books in the early days, I typed it on a typewriter. If I made a mistake on line 30, I had to start again because I couldn't correct it.
Yeah.
It's so laborious. So, but thankfully, since computers, like I said earlier, I can write it down, email it to myself, I edit it myself, I think about it myself, I work on it, and maybe show 2 or 3 magicians at local club or the Magic Circle in London, where I'm a member, and hone it in, and then bingo, go for it,
But thanks to ChatGPT, we won't be needing all that now. So finish up the interview. No. Well, have you ever tried it? We're talking about ChatGPT. Have you heard of this? Have you ever tried it?
I'm a computer and technical and internet idiot.
Okay.
I know nothing about. I know nothing about anything to do with anything. So like, Facebook is about my limit.
Well, I think that within that naivety, that actually contributes to making a good trick.
Right. Okay.
No, it's true. I think because you don't see the limitation, you know? And it's kind of like you were just saying earlier when you say you'll gaze out and you'll think of a trick and then you'll imagine, yeah, but if I did it, why is A, B, and C there? Okay. And that resonates for me because the way that I try to look at something, I'll reverse engineer it. Okay. I'm the kind of person where at 5 years old, when I was raised by my grandmother. So when she would leave to go get the groceries, I would take apart the TV, like the tube TV, and
Right.
put it all nice and neatly on the ground and do a good, like the order of how it was then. I could rebuild the TV before she got back. That was like a challenge.
Yeah.
So these days it would be like I'll reverse engineer something, have the blocks, and then say, what happens if I remove one piece? Why is that piece essential? So I'll do that like through all the things, like a little bit
Right.
like what happens if just for shits and giggles I take the middle piece and I put it at the beginning, like almost like
Right.
music. You know,
Yeah.
like, you don't have to start music with like lead chorus and then like you could start with a bridge and yeah. So what happens if you do that? It's let's say one thing's made out of wood. What happens if it's made out of cardboard? Like what you know? So replacing the elements, and next thing you know, like you're just saying, you reinvent something where it's made tailored for you. You know,
Right. Yeah.
it so happens that other people will resonate for them too. Like I discovered your work, and I'm like, he knows what he's talking about. It's well presented. It might be raw, but it's still it's true. You know, it's true. So that's how I kind of discovered your work. You know,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. I mean, I mean, I guess I'm old school. You know, I mean, it's
that's
just
perfect. Old
you know,
school, the best school.
yeah. I mean, I kind of I rebel against a lot of modern ways because it just seems about more about flashbang product placement and uh, design as
Yeah,
opposed to the actual magic. And that's not I'm not knocking anybody for that, but that's just I'm a big fan of the magic videos from the 70s to the 90s.
mhm.
You know, they had that really, really raw kind of unedited feel about them. And there was a charm about that, I think.
Yeah,
Um, and I think sometimes you can either not over rehearse, but you can overproduce, can't you?
yeah.
And some things are way overproduced. And a little example here is that there was a while ago, a booklet came out, magic booklet. And the things in it I knew would never be doable or practical by anybody ever. And one of them was the guy said, you hold 6 cards as one, lay them on the table, and they look like one card.
Lord, yeah, yeah, for sure, of course.
And I said, no, they don't.
Yeah.
And I thought, so that kind of stuff, it may have worked well in the guy's bedroom, but that would never work on a bar surface or in a pub or a club or a restaurant or anything like that. So there's that kind of aspect to the not overproducing, but selling
Overcomplicating.
overcomplicating is just not true. 6 cards do not look like one, unless
But why
you
do
do
you
your magic
feel
a talent way.
the why do you feel drawn? Like, okay, what trick warrants your attention to be unknotted? Like, how do
Uh,
you say this trick? I'm like, I'm interested into this trick. Like, what trick get into that list of you saying it warrants me exploring it?
um, oh, I don't know. Well, if a trick is way over long, I think I like to.
Yeah, but you could just say, fuck that trick. I'm
Yeah.
gonna look at something else. That one's too long, not interesting. But you're like,
Well,
hey,
yeah,
that trick is too long. Paul
yeah,
Harris should intervene.
yeah. I don't know what to say. I'm stymied for words here.
That's
I
perfect. I mean,
kind of,
you're thinking.
yeah.
And you
I
know, I
don't
just
know.
made a crazy mistake. Huh? I just made a lapsus and I need to correct myself because it's going to be on video. I just called you Paul Harris.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you very. That wasn't an insult, eh?
So, Paul, do you know Paul,
Oh,
by the way?
No, I've never met him. No, no. He was obviously a big. You know, when I
Yes,
started, he was a big name in the '70s when I was
we
in.
were talking just earlier about if you would do bizarre magic, like you'd have the goatee and everything.
Yeah, I said we were talking earlier to folks watching that if, you know, the bizarre magic is a big interest of mine. Well, I said big interest. It's a good interest of mine. Not so much the mentalism, but I think I'd have to look like a bizarrist. I'd have to wear dark clothing with a goatee and walk around with a set of candles.
So even there, when you say that, do you think that? Oh, well, your name is that your real name?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like me, I don't have a magic name. It's Stéphane
No, it's
Lacroix.
just same as me. Yeah.
Do you feel that a magician needs a persona necessarily to like? Do you have a persona?
I think I do. I have a weird persona. My
Yeah.
persona is if you watch me performing live, I'm
Yeah.
very different from when I'm not performing live. So if you see any live clips of me, I'm very high energy, not shouting, but high energy.
Okay.
But I think I come across as the local manager of your local Walmart.
Okay.
And then I surprise people because I'm not quite like that. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of very energetic and I'm very humorous when I work. You know, if I say so myself, it's comedy with card magic and very lot of interaction. But I am what I am. I don't have a
Yeah.
other persona. I'm just Paul Gordon. Um, I think I say to people, I'm 5 octaves higher than I am in real life.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. It's you,
Yeah,
but amplified.
yeah, amplified me. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. That's really good. I think, yeah, because I think that when you're in the moment of performing, you're like in a heightened state.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
And sometimes the enthusiasm is what just brings that,
That's right. And I am. I'm very enthusiastic about
Yeah,
my magic. I'm very enthusiastic about the performance. And when I'm on form and I go for it, I go
yeah,
for it. You know,
yeah.
I'm uh, I'm I'm steaming ahead, and I work very swiftly. I can probably do 5 or 6 of my tricks in about a minute.
Is that like in your sense? What I'm feeling now is that because you get so primed of I'm so happy I'm gonna share something with them.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I can't wait to see the reaction. More than they'll never get what I'm trying to understand. Like explain to them, I'm gonna blow the wave, they'll never understand it. I
You've
think
hit
it's more of, I can't wait to share something with them more than
you've
I'm
hit,
gonna fool them.
yeah, you've hit the nail on the head, Stefan. You have. You've actually that's a very yeah. You're the first person in all the interviews I've ever done to bring that up and point that out. I it's not of my interest to particularly fool people. I just want them to have a bloody good time. I want them to laugh. I want them to be surprised. I want them to be. I want them to go away saying we've had a very nice, a bloody good evening from a very nice, funny guy who
Yeah.
was very interactive. He shook all of our hands. He remembered our names, and it was a great night. But
Yeah.
as for fooling, I don't think that's not my utmost thing. If I do, that's great, but it really is all about entertainment.
Well, because the fooling part, I think it's the leaving them with the memory and that question mark at the end that it was like, I wonder how that happened. But
Yeah.
it's tied to the positive experience. So the magic would be the experience,
Yes,
not the
absolutely. The
effect.
magic is, yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah,
That is something that I hope that translates when people watch this.
yeah,
The essence of magic. Listen, you could buy 10,000 tricks because there's non-stop releases. And you know what? They're, they're almost all good, you know?
yeah, yeah,
But they're not all the voice that you want to express your
mm,
person, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
And if you can't find that voice, try to create your own. Like
yeah,
something that you interest, like you're saying, and make it your own. Just make it your own.
yeah, yeah. And I do lectures worldwide, and I say to people, the best thing to do is to take your magic and go and work in a pub or a club or a restaurant. Do that for a long, long time, and you'll eventually find your own voice.
Of
It'll
course.
it'll find you. You'll just find what suits you best. Um, some people are quiet or dry, or they don't have a humor in their act. That's fine. But whatever it is, whatever your persona is, it'll kind of work its way out in the performance. Um, I I used to wear a suit when I performed.
Yeah.
Not a flashy suit, not a three
No,
piece
no.
suit,
Professional.
just a nice
Yeah.
suit. So I would turn up at a wedding or a party looking like I might have been one of the guests,
Exactly.
and then I surprise them by suddenly,
Yes.
oh, hang on, what's going on here? You know?
Exactly. That's perfect. It's like sly a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. You
Well, it's
see,
because
you're
you
asking.
blend into the people, and then when you seize the moment, it's more
Mm.
impactful a little bit. It's not like,
Yeah,
I'm sure you don't go up to people and say, "Do you want to see a trick?"
You see, you're asking me questions, Stefan, and nobody's ever asked. So I'm a bit stymied. I'm not normally
That's why,
stymied for
listen,
words.
I'm the
Yeah,
best at this thing.
you are. You're very good at it.
Netflix, come on. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, yeah, you are. You are. You're very good at it. It's a
Thank you very
very.
much.
Yeah. I mean, I was interviewed the other day, and the guy said, when were you born? Where were you born? How
No,
old are
no,
you?
no. That's called
And it was just,
Wikipedia.
yeah. Well, I said to him, I said, well, I can just send you a list of these things.
Oh.
Um, but no, I was going to say something interesting, and I've forgotten it now.
See,
Oh yeah, yeah. Another thing about tricks, which is a question you didn't ask, but I'm going to
tricks.
mention it anyway, about magic.
Yeah.
Since I was a boy, I absolutely love movies. I'm going to ask you a question now. I
Yeah.
love movies like Sleuth. Now, do you know that with Laurence Olivier and Michael
Yes,
Caine,
yes,
Shawshank Redemption,
yes,
The Sting,
yes,
Paul Newman and Robert Redford, and
yes,
there's
yes.
others.
Yeah.
Now, all three movies have got one thing in common.
Cards.
No, I've got you now, haven't I?
Wait. Shawshank Redemption. Okay, so the commonality: Shawshank Redemption, The Sting,
The Sting and Sleuth.
Ruth.
I'll tell you what they've all got in
Yeah,
common.
yeah,
They've got in top with it, which inspires a lot of my tricks.
yeah.
All three films have got a kicker moment at the end where you say, "I didn't see that coming."
Yes, I
A
love that. Yeah, that's
surprise.
true. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, and so
That's very true.
I do that a lot. A lot of my magic is the effect is going this way, bang, 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 bang,
And
bang.
it's good, and it's all good too.
Yeah, but
Yeah, yeah,
right at the
yeah.
end,
Like that could be the movie itself, and then it's like at the end, listen.
yeah, and
That's
I
very,
love
very
that.
good.
So sometimes my tricks, people think this is happening, ding, 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 and I surprise them with a wallop.
Yeah, that is incredible. Yeah.
And that's one thing I love doing.
Do you do something after that trick?
Yeah, probably do another one with a wallop.
Okay, so then again, do you feel that it needs to have a build-up? Or you can just do Mike Tyson style, bang, bang, bang?
What I try and do is I start with bang, I slow down a little bit,
Yeah,
couple more bangs,
yeah,
bring it in and out, and then end with a couple more.
yeah.
So it's like softly bringing it back and bringing the emotion down, bringing it up again. But
Yeah, but
again, it
that's the
depends on
thing.
the audience.
The emotions.
Mm, yeah,
Uh, this is a great conversation. I'm happy to have it. Like, imagine we weren't even talking just a few days ago.
I know. Well, we were talking about an upset, weren't we?
Controversy.
Controversy. And the controversy. I don't want your readers or watchers to be thinking negative stuff because So I'll let you get the ball rolling.
Well, I've been working on a project called Hermetic ESP, and it's just basically a revisited version of ESP symbols. And I've been posting these things mainly, I would say, on Facebook, like bizarre groups and mentalism stuff. And there was like a really strong interest. Like it created a little bit of a hype. I didn't invent the concept of attaching like existing symbols to reinterpret the geometrical shapes. So I put it on there. And then you posted after this with relatively the same, not concept, but visually similar. Okay. Now let's understand something. I was definitely not the first person to come up with these symbols and that thing. Okay.
Yeah.
And even beyond your cards, there are other people who are also doing this too,
Yes.
which I have spoken to as well. And it's always like you try your best to try and figure out, like, you don't want to unstep on other people's feet when you want to be respectful in terms of a creator.
Yeah.
And sometimes you reach out to other creators and say, listen, I think there's similarities. And the other creator will say, I prefer if you stand down, which is understandable. And other times they're like, let's work together, or let's do it separate and like we live our own lives. Perfect. And this led to a situation where people online were like saying that you were almost like piggybacking on my hype, which is absolutely wrong.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't feel nor think that. Um, so my initial reaction was to reach out to you.
mm,
And in doing that, what happens is that as a creator, sometimes you have ego that's in place, which is it's perfectly okay.
yeah,
So it could have very easily went in pointing and blaming, I think.
yeah,
But I think that we chose to like just explain our perspectives and an understanding.
yeah,
And then from there, well, I think that my intentions were to try and find a way to like diffuse the situation so that there's no
yes,
confusion in regards to um, our intentions of, like I think
yeah,
we just want to bring something both mutually to the community.
yes, absolutely, absolutely.
It has
Well,
nothing to do with like one bashing the other, and that brought us to now we're literally talking. So in
yeah,
that little frame of time, it could have been something like very unuseful, but it
yeah.
turned into something actually I'm super happy to talk to you.
Yeah, well, well, me too with you. I mean, there's no. I think sometimes people put two and two together and they end up with five, and they come up to all sorts of conclusions. Now, so people know what I'm saying here is that I've created bizarre tricks for I don't know 15, 20 years, maybe more, and some of my older tricks, I created some cards using pagan symbols for that particular trick. Only four symbols. Now, my trick phased, which is the trick we're referring to, which in itself is based and inspired by a Ben Blau routine. You have to have six symbols. So recently, I produced an ESP version of my trick phased,
Yeah.
and then I had loads of people say, "It's a great routine. Could I do it with bizarre cards?
Mhm.
Pagan symbols or something like that?" So I said, "Well, I've only got four, so I'll have to design two more." And this must have all come out a similar time to your
Yeah,
creation and your cards.
exactly. It happens.
It happens. And so, but my cards, there's only six pairs of, so 12 cards. They can't be used for any other routines. That's it. They're simply for my routine phased. And your cards are fantastic. I've been looking at them. And it's a different idea, it's a different concept, but it looks very similar, doesn't it? The
But that's the
cards,
thing, yeah. Between
yeah,
the and
yeah,
how they both go. And I
yeah,
mean, we were just discussing like if there's even a way for our projects to tie in together,
yeah,
fantastic. I mean, there's no
yeah,
reason.
absolutely.
And your thing came out just a little. I mean, it came out before mine in regards
Mm,
to concession, but just the that post came in almost at the same time as mine. But
yeah,
there were two other projects from two other creators
yeah,
who are on the same thing. Okay,
yeah,
now I'm a little bit like into the whole uh not to say alternative thinking, but I believe in synchronicity.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that this is just certain like I feel that there's certain it's the timing is right for this kind of magic to come.
Yes, yeah, yeah,
I'm just sensing that the whole flash in the pan magic, it was great, like the whole internet magic, where what happens outside of the frame, there's a whole world outside of here.
yeah, yeah,
It's great, but I feel that there's a slight returning to the essence.
yeah,
And that means more, not to say ritualistic magic with like witches, like, but ritualistic in the sense that you have elements that evoke a certain thing, and that
yeah,
becomes almost like a character in your story. It's more story based.
yes, yeah,
So
yeah,
you're telling a story, and there's history in there that people could, if they backtrack and they go
yeah.
online, they actually that's actually true. That symbol means this. So there's a return to the sources, I feel, and it just so happens that within the cards, these things are manifesting. So it's just, I think it's good for
Yeah.
everyone.
Well, yeah. I mean, just like on a tangent here. I mean, I since I was a boy, I've been a big fan of. There's a British movie from the '50s called Night of the Demon,
Mm.
um, and
You
it's a
seem to
really
be a
atmospheric.
movie buff.
Me,
Yes.
oh, you are.
You. Well, me too,
I
but
am.
you've
Yeah,
seen.
Oh, I'm a big movie buff. I love movies, and I like The Wicker Man is one of my favourite films, and hence the routine recently I produced called The Wicker Man, which I sent you the artwork of. Um, so I like that kind of, and I think it happens when you get older, because I think when you're in your, say, as a magician, if you're in your twenties, teens, 20s, and maybe 30s, a lot of the thinking is about whiz bang sleights and moves. But as you get older, you're more interested in stories and emotions and connections and this, that, and the other. That's a totally irrelevant tangent. I've just gone off on.
No. I totally agree. No, not at all. I think it's just like
Yeah.
there's something that comes with a certain maturity.
Mm.
Where when you're, let's say, in your 20s or 30s, whatever, the dust is still like very active because you're still in a phase of your life where you think that you're finished growing,
That's right. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you're not. You're like in the bustle. So it's like a
That's
snow
right.
globe, and you're in your little ecosystem.
Yeah.
When finally get into your later ages, it's settling down a little bit. So you get to analyze, and when that dust settles down, you look down, you're like, and there's patterns. So you're like,
Yes.
that's great. That's great. I like that. I'm going to take this and this. So yeah.
Yeah, that's very true, Stéphane. You're very insightful. You keep stymieing me because you keep coming up with these fantastic thoughts. Yeah, I mean, so folks watching. I mean, I'm early 60s, so I kind of I see the Grim Reaper lurking around the corner at all
No.
stages.
Listen, I even before we started, I said that you must be sleeping in from Hall Dried or something because you're like wrinkle free. Are you sponsored by Oil of Olay or?
I'm sponsored by vodka.
Oh Lord! Man, I would be your designated driver. It's going to be 3 years, not a drop for me.
Oh, well done. That's
No,
I
it's not
don't.
well done. Actually, it translated into more card magic.
Oh, well, there's a
Instead of
positive
buying
side to
booze,
that.
I buy decks of cards now.
No, I don't. That's a joke, but
Oh, I know, I
I
know.
think I laugh. I've had a lot of struggles in my time. Believe me, honestly, I've not had an easy life, but I've always tried to laugh in the face of adversity, laugh, enjoy life, enjoy magic, enjoy company. Um, it's life is fleetingly short, isn't it? And it's
It's
best
a
to have a good
shame.
time.
It's a shame because I think that human nature, we need to have unfortunate situations manifest for us to
Yeah,
appreciate the little things. And sometimes that comes in the form of sickness,
yeah,
where you're when you lose your what was free the day before, it changes perspectives very fast. And
it does,
unfortunately,
doesn't it?
that happens like over time. But
Mm.
again, a reason behind these kind of exchanges online with people like you, it's to kind of jumpstart people's thinking in regards to what's important, and how
Yeah,
to do
yeah.
things in a certain different light.
You're absolutely right. I mean, it's without getting too dark here, it's absolutely true.
Oh,
You have to, certainly with illnesses or problems, this, that, and the other, you reevaluate life and what's important. And to me, apart from my personal life, is family and
yeah.
grandchildren, and I also sing in a big band as well. That's my other
Wow.
thing. Yeah, I'll send you. Whilst we're talking, I'll just send you that so you can, if you can
Definitely.
add it into the thingamy so people know what.
Yes.
I was trying to look at you while I'm doing it so people don't think I'm being rude looking down.
No. You're so
So bear with
rude.
let me just so you can know what I'm talking about here.
So we were just
Um,
talking about your card. So if ever people are looking for to pick these up, it's called Phased.
yeah,
And where could they get that? Is that like on? Do you have a website, it's
I do.
paulgordon.com or?
PaulGordon.net, and then the shop page is forward slash shop,
Yeah.
so you can see stuff on
See,
there.
so it's all bullshit you were saying. You're not. It's not true that you're not tech savvy. You know exactly what a website is.
Well, that's about my limit.
Yeah.
I stopped. You see, when I was young, I could fix my mother's video record. I could fix the radio. I could fix the TV. I can't do any of that these days. I mean, the last 20 years, technology. I think it's sometimes in your 40s and 50s, it starts going faster than your brain does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It moves on a bit quicker. Hang on a second. Bear with me a moment.
Oh
I'm
no,
nearly.
no problem. Yeah.
Um,
So I'll just break it down. So phase, if ever your people are wondering, well, it's a packet trick, you know, and it's based around occult symbols and stuff. And just as Paul was mentioning, there's always a kicker at the end. So if people are into like bizarre magic or even just reinterpreting ESPFX, this is for sure something that I recommend looking at, you know.
Well, you're very
I'm
kind.
going to just look right now. Excellent, right here.
Oh, I'm up there, am I? Yes, I was just saying to Stéphane, folks, that my other thing is the singing in a
Oh,
big
great.
band.
Yeah, I see that. Hold on.
Is it frozen?
No, 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 no. I'm just putting it. That's you.
Yeah, there I am doing my thing.
That's great.
Yeah. So
And
I,
you
you
know,
know,
that is like, okay, so you don't do just magic.
no, well, I do now because the singing kind of slightly died a death with COVID because the band, all the bands I work with, kind of disbanded because of COVID, and not many of them got back together again. So
Oh,
they
that's awesome. Yeah.
we're still reeling from all that. So magic is the main thing, and well, creating is this. You know, I stopped performing, as I said, but I lecture worldwide. So you know, if magicians are out there, I kind of various clubs all over the place. You know.
So let's say, so after that Eureka thing, you're saying you're able to explore. So that would bring us down to step 4,
Yes.
exploration. So you rather work alone or do you tend to share? Okay, so you're just saying earlier that you'll try like you'll road test the routines in real. Okay,
Yeah.
so what is your like well, that's like two questions I guess at the same time. You're okay with making mistakes in real life with your tricks because that's going to help make it better going forward, or do you think that you need to have it bulletproof before you go out, or like how do you see that?
Well, I make sure it's bulletproof before I go out, but the little edges get knocked off and rubbed off, and little things. I think
Nuances there, yeah.
new. I go home and I think, redo this. Think about that. Think about even presentation wise, you know,
Right.
patter wise, and I think about that a lot. Um, but you know, it's. I think in the question you were going to mention about collaborating with people,
Yeah, exactly.
I
And there,
don't.
yeah.
Yeah, I very rarely have because I like to. I don't. I'm not very good at sort of doing it. Kind of. I like to be with people to do it,
Yeah.
and then
Okay,
there's a
yeah.
problem there because I'm quite introverted. Really, when I'm not, you know, I live in a beautiful home and a lovely garden, and you know, and the thought of getting on a train to go to London or wherever it may be, um, you know, the strikes, train delays, this, that, and the other. So I find myself sort of doing it all on my own, really.
Yeah.
You know, but um, yeah. So that
How
answers the
long
question.
would like when you're going at it and it's okay? So that part, like we already touched a lot of like little things like going forward, you know. But how do you know when that part is ready for to go to step 5, implementation?
Instinct, I think.
I guess, yeah.
I can't really think. I just never. I don't know. It just kind of again. It's
Or
probably
even
like
like,
a.
why would it warrant to go to step 5?
Well,
Like, why would
sometimes it doesn't.
why would you want to make something to be sold? Like, you could just keep this for yourself.
Um, yeah, but you see, this is another good point. You keep coming up with these good points. Um,
That's what I do. That's like when
yeah,
you have
you're
no
very good.
hair, you have to
Yeah,
compensate, you know. But then again, I have a shirt that says like, why have hair when you have a body like this? I mean, I'm just
that's
saying I have to play on a level, you know, on an equal level, so I have to give myself a disadvantage a little bit.
very funny. Um, well, I tell you, this is the last couple of books I wrote. I wrote in there that I wanted to keep certain tricks private.
Yeah.
And I've had just my wife and other people say, well, what's the point? I mean, you can't take it with you. You know, talking about death, you
Yes.
can't take it with you. So I kind of started agreeing. I thought, well, what is the point? I'm for my own amusement. I mean, there's no point. So um, I find it very gratifying that wherever I go, somebody will come up and say, you know, I do your tricks, this, that, and the
Yeah.
other, or whatever it may be. It's not just an ego thing, but it's just very
No.
nice that people do it or use it. I mean, if they don't use it or do it, I'm wasting my time writing the books, I guess.
Yeah, but it's
Um,
do you get a sentiment of contribution?
yeah, I do. I just feel like I like contributions to the art of magic, card magic. It's a thrilling. I'm so enthusiastic about card magic and magic and all that kind of stuff. It's almost like I would like to talk about it more in like in a forum, and
Like
discuss it
here.
more. Like here. Well, absolutely true. It rarely happens because, like I mentioned to you before, I've been interviewed like other people have, but a lot of the times the questions are very dull and how old your dad and all the rest of it, or
No, but it's because there's a world of insight in people if you take a second to ask a question. It's literally that. You go outside today, people are dying to tell you about what's going on in their life, but if you
yeah,
don't try to crack that shell,
mm,
nothing's gonna
yeah,
happen. And we're living
yeah,
in a society where people like especially since COVID,
mm,
self-centered people, it's like it's too much.
yeah.
So
Well, do you know what? Can I give you a little vignette, a little story here?
definitely,
Yeah. My father was a salesman. I mean, he's been dead decades, but my father was a salesman and a very good one, very popular. And he was amazing at talk. He would talk to everybody, and
yeah.
he was not over talkative. He was a good listener. He would find out things. And I always wanted to be like that. So I used to watch him as a teenager, thinking, how does he do it? He's starting conversations up. He's making a comment about somebody's suit or their dress or how
Yeah,
nice they look, whatever it
yeah,
may be. And so I've always, we have the tube in London, the underground,
yeah,
and everybody sits there like this now.
exactly,
Their eyes are down. There's no eye
exactly,
contact. But I find myself talking to people, and I can
exactly.
see. I think they think I'm some kind of weird pervert, you
No,
know,
no,
because he's engaging. They're making me feel uncomfortable.
no.
Now, many years ago, I sat outside my local cafe, and there was an old guy sat next door to me, and I just said, good morning, nice day, blah blah blah, and then we started chatting, and then he started telling me. We were talking about what we did. I told him I was a magician and an author and a lecturer and a singer and blah blah blah. And he said he was an inventor. I said, oh, I
Wow.
said, what have you invented? Now I can't remember the detail, but he said, well, when NASA rockets go to space, I invented the gizmo that goes on this, that does this, that, and the other. I said, amazing.
Could you have imagined that person
I
was sitting next to you?
Not at all, not at
You know what I
all.
mean?
But it gets funnier. It gets more interesting because he then said, "Oh, and you know the on oscilloscopes. Well,
Yeah.
I invented this part of the oscilloscope. I invented this," and he just reeled off a whole stack of things he'd invented. So much so that I made the incorrect assumption that he was talking bullshit.
Yeah.
So I went to the library and I typed his name into the search bar, and there was 3 pages of inventions that he'd invented.
See?
This little old 90-year-old guy quietly sipping a cup of coffee outside Costa Coffee or Starbucks in where I live. And that taught me a big lesson is that you just don't know, who you're talking to. So everybody's
Everyone
got a
has a
nice
life.
story.
You know what I
Everybody
mean?
has a, yeah,
Everyone has a life. Okay.
and
And
everybody has a
everyone
story
has
to
an
tell.
interesting thing in there.
Yeah,
Everyone. Okay.
everyone, absolutely every single person. And I always say to people, if you don't talk to strangers, you never make new friends.
Well, you can talking to strangers, you learn about yourself.
Yes.
Well, because there's a way to approach people.
Yeah, yeah,
Everyone wants to talk to everyone, but there's a
yeah,
reason why they don't.
yes.
And there's a maybe I don't know if it's the ego, I don't know if it's insecurity, but there's a way to crack that. And especially today, I think we're due. We kind of need something more like that.
We do. I mean, there's another thing. Is on a negative side, is like I'm a member of the Magic Circle, and there's a club room, and I go to the club room. Now, sometimes people don't talk to other people because it's like a battle of the ego,
Yes.
um, and I don't like that. I just like to talk to everybody. I don't care who they are, whether they're famous or not famous. It's of no consequence to me. People are people, aren't they?
Yes.
In actual fact, it's the guys who
We're
aren't
famous to
famous.
someone, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of ego in magic, isn't there? Where
Yeah.
it's a battle of egos and this, that, and the other, which is sad, but that's the way it is, isn't
I
it?
find it really odd. I'm going to be honest with you because my background, I used to have a record label and write music because we're talking
Right.
about music. Yeah. And in the music community, and maybe you could attest to this, okay? We have cover songs.
Yeah.
That would translate to you doing a trick from someone else, but with a different flavor.
Yeah.
You have remixes. You have, so that means it's the same thing, but with a different kicker.
Yeah.
Okay. Do people freak out in music saying that you've exposed a method because you did the same riff?
I
Does
know.
someone say, let's say, in your song you sampled one part of my thing, and that no, you gave it a new life.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's something that does not happen with that in magic.
Yeah.
People are just so, they think that they invented the wheel.
I know.
You know what I
Now,
mean?
this is a good conversation, because I'm very well read in magic. I've been reading magic books for over 50 years, and I've got thousands, and I read them all. Now, I know there are thousands upon thousands of ESP tricks, and some of them are based on 5 principles, maybe. Card tricks, there must be 5,000 ace assemblies out there. Pick a card tricks, oil and water tricks, and this, that, and the other. But most of them have an interesting nuance that has added something.
Yes.
You know, of course, there's always bad things that aren't right, but there aren't. You know, the more you know about magic and creativity, same as songwriting. There are,
Yeah.
you know, there's only so many notes, aren't there, on the keyboard?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's a bizarre thing.
An exposure, a magic exposure.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, the people who are interested with the secret, well, first of all, when they do magic exposure, I mean, like, let's say having the camera behind so you see the palming happening and stuff like that.
Yeah.
First of all, if you don't have the skill to do it, you're not gonna, it's gonna die in your mind and the idea won't,
Yeah.
you know. If the
Yeah.
person does learn to do it, they might try to do it and it'll turn into a new routine.
Yeah.
Okay. It's definitely not gonna destroy the magic.
No. No.
And
No.
the people who are interested by that aren't interested in, I won't say real magic, but you know, like a purist of magic where there's a story and there's a punchline and there's a pattern and there's an exchange, and if there's a mistake happens, you turn around and you do something else. It's
Yeah.
not, it's not tending to the same people. So
Yes.
just
Yeah.
relax, relax.
Relax. Relax. It's like there's always arguments about, say, exposure on YouTube.
Yeah.
Now, the people who do
And
it to
being
blatant,
banned. And then we're banned.
I know. I mean, there are. I mean, there's different types, isn't there, where the guy will reveal somebody's marketed trick and people watch it, but that's
Yeah.
always, you can't stop it. I mean, YouTube very rarely takes down these videos, but I always say, like, if basic routines are exposed by people, if you're a good performer, the audience watching won't correlate the method that they may have seen on YouTube to what
Yeah.
you're doing.
If you do it exactly the same way, of course you're going to see that it's the same thing.
So it's like, and I say to people, to give it another example, in music, you wouldn't watch a video about the making of an album by Elton John and say, I'm not going to go and see him in concert because I saw how he did it.
Lord,
That's
Paul.
a good, that's a good line, isn't it?
It's incredible. That's, you know, and it's also like sometimes when I say to someone, it's like when you see a rainbow, you know it's not pencils in the sky, but it doesn't make it less wonderful to look at.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? There's something in there where it's like, Jesus.
Well, there used to be a joke, you know, with the movie Titanic. There used to be a joke where people say, I don't want to go and see the movie because I know the boat sinks at the end.
Yeah. Screw all the dialogue. Screw the people, their interest, what they're going to say before they sink. Screw all that shit. You know,
it's just craziness. It's just it's beyond my imagination. It's beyond my understanding that people think like that. But if they do, they do. You know.
Well, they're conditioned. That's just it's not bad people. It's just being conditioned. There's not enough content, like just stuff where it's insightful, you know, and you can understand and just relate to things, you know.
Yes, absolutely. It's like performers, you know, because I write books of magic. People say, "Aren't you afraid somebody will just do your act, as it were?" Well, they can't be me. They'll never be me, and I'll never be them. You know, we're all different. We all bring something new. I mean, if somebody absolutely mimics you and tries to get away with you, they just look embarrassing apart from anything else. It's an embarrassment to watch somebody, you know, it's like a very bad because I'm a Sinatra fan. It's like watching a really bad Frank Sinatra impressionist.
It would be like a parody.
Yeah, parody. And I always say it's like Elvis Presley impersonators.
Yeah.
They always impersonate Elvis Presley when he was fat and old.
Yeah.
They don't impersonate young fit Elvis Presley.
Mm-hmm.
So what they do is they start doing the old
Exactly.
when he was, in his 40s and overweight. So as you say, it's a parody. It's like a parody of a parody, and so it's therefore kind of visually risible, isn't it?
Well, at the same time, I'm almost like you're saying that, and I'm kind of happy that that exists because it's stirring people away from the real magic. So when someone does, like, I'll give you an example. I perform, like, I like to do street magic when I do go out. I don't like going out because, as you just mentioned, I have everything here. I like to run, so I run. I go home. I have the pool. I have the yard, so I'll do my stuff. I'll just meditate outside, and then so I have everything to be just happy here, when I do go out, it's to have fun, and stuff. And I like exchanging and chatting with people, and I'll do a trick, But beyond that, I don't feel that like exposing magic to people is something that is killing magic, I would say.
Yeah. I think possibly that I probably had the best of it, when I was younger, because before the internet, you had to go and see whoever. You had to, I don't know, it was more of an interactive, as it should be. Another funny vignette, probably showing my age here, but when COVID started, I had a lot of people saying, "Can I do lectures via Zoom?" And I bought all the equipment, and I had a guy, because I don't know, as I've told you, I don't know what to do. So I had a guy come round, he'd put the cameras up and the microphones and the little switch box, for changing channels on the camera. And it was all laid out. And I was trying to look at the lights, look at the screen, do the gizmo, perform the magic, teach the magic, listen to people. I couldn't, there was too many balls in the air,
Yeah.
And one of the Zoom things, I had like 30 screens, across little screens across the computer, and people all over the world. One guy here from Canada, one from America, China, Japan, France, Germany, and they're all doing different things. One guy's eating fish and chips.
Yeah.
One guy is looking at his phone, and there's one particular guy from England. He was in the kitchen, and his wife was saying, "What are you doing?" He said, "Oh, I'm watching Paul Gordon on screen." "Oh, really? Who's he then?" "He's a magician." "What does he do?" And I've got this conversation going on whilst I'm trying to perform a lecture. So after 2 hours, I slammed the lid down of the computer and threw the whole lot away. And I thought, that's the end of that. So that's probably an age thing or an era thing. But I
think it's the connection thing.
Yeah. I like people. It's like when I perform and lecture, they are literally 2 foot away from me.
Yeah. So you say that you write a lot, like volumes and stuff. So would you maybe agree that if you want to keep a secret in magic, again, just on closing note on in regards to exposing magic, if you want to keep a secret in magic, it's in a book. If you want to find innovative new magic that you don't find elsewhere, it's in a book.
It's in a book, definitely. I mean, I market tricks separately, and they're available from Murphy's and dealers and this, that, and the other. But the bulk of my material that people probably use mostly is in the books. Because if you're going to buy a book and take the time to read it, it means you've got more than just a casual interest.
Well, not just that, a person who writes a book also has more than a casual interest.
That's right. Yeah.
You're not going to write a book. If you take the effort to write a book, you're not going to just do like how can I say? You have to invest a certain amount of energy and passion in that for it to be able to be structurally sound.
Yeah. And it takes a long. I mean, my books they're nicely produced, but they take a lot of work to do. And
people don't realize that too. It's a lot of, because I write for the magazine, so I publish every month.
Yeah.
But it's something where the more that you do, you get more and more refined at it too.
Yes.
Writing magic, what I find that's difficult is because it's difficult. Like, it's an art to be able to infuse it with a bit of your personality and humor a little bit. Not so just tremendously dry with technique,
Yes.
I find your writing is very good like that, because it's well-rounded, where your personality translates within the explanations.
Well, thank you. I mean, I've tried to do that. I don't want to be too humorous all the time. Otherwise, you lose track of the trick or the routine. But what I try, one of the this is like a writing lesson, isn't it? But what used to annoy me when I was a kid, it would say something like, hold the pack in your left hand. But it
Yeah.
doesn't say how. Is it in the palm or at the top? Is it face up? Is it face down? To deal the cards to the table, well, are you dealing the cards face up or are they face down?
Yeah.
Are you dealing them into a pile? Are they in a row?
Yeah.
Are they in an overlapping row or are they singly? So I always realize that everything has to be so clear for the reader that you're saying something so they don't go, what does he mean?
It has to be extremely detailed. I mean, like finger positioning, which fingers,
Yeah.
how much pressure,
Yeah.
so that the
But
person
without
in their
too much
mind, or
information. Because if you put too much detail, you can kind of lose people. So there's a fine line between the correct detail and boring the crap out of people,
yeah.
I think.
So, speaking of boring the crap out of people, not to elaborate on too long, but this is I
Oh,
really loved this exchange with you. But like it's already been an hour, just to give you an idea. How,
gosh, I know.
yeah, I know.
Time of flying. Yeah.
I loved it. It flies by, so
Yeah.
much. But if you were to, well, maybe two things. Where would you see magic in the next maybe 5, 10 years?
5, 10 years, probably much as it is now. But I think
Yeah.
maybe further down the line, maybe in 20, 30 years' time, I'm hoping that people will embrace it as a performance art with people as opposed to just a TikToky, Twittery, Facebooky thing.
Yeah.
That's what I hope. I hope people get back to going to magic clubs, meeting people, interacting with people, going to conventions more, supporting live magic. I'm hoping it'll kind of do a full circle.
Cool. And let's say on a parting note, if you maybe a message to people who want to get into magic or something like that, would you have like maybe just like in a all encapsulating piece of wisdom?
All encapsulating piece of wisdom. Um, well, you've got to enjoy it, folks. I mean,
Yeah.
I think go back to books, read books, because the books are just full of so much information. A good book is
Barbell.
just Tarbell. Yeah, I mean, there's so many, all the classic books, Raw Road to Card, Magic, whatever it may be, and my books. Don't forget my book.
Definitely. Oh,
Um,
for sure. Like seriously,
so,
no, without like again like the ego or anything, they're good books.
yeah,
Honestly, like they're
but
super well made. It's
thank you.
yeah, no, great stuff.
Well, it's very kind, but I think basically it's just to have a good time doing it, and I think also it's just try and steer clear of too many videos and DVDs or whatever it is these days, because if you just watch videos and DVDs with realizing it, you can start mimicking the person because you're just by osmosis picking up their vocal sounds, their hand movements, their gestures. Whereas if you learn your magic from books only, you have to interpret what's on the page to your own persona. And so therefore you'll find yourself quicker that way,
Yeah.
as opposed to that's why back in the 90s there were thousands of David Blaines everywhere.
Yeah, I agree.
They just kind of saw David Blaine and they started copying him. You know, that's a piece of advice I'd give.
Yeah. Well, listen, I think that just this exchange was wonderful. It was so generous of you to, say that you're available and do this off the cuff. And it was a really great opportunity to be able to exchange with you. So we
I
hope to be able
thoroughly
to
enjoyed
keep.
Stéphane. You're a fantastic interview. I'm really, gosh, it sounds patronised, but I'm incredibly surprised, not because of you, but generally speaking, you're fantastic at it. And I hope people watching don't think there's any ill feeling, because there isn't. And I've had a thoroughly good time, and maybe we can contribute and do something.
I would
I
love
mean,
to. No,
collaborate,
no.
not contribute, collaborate.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I definitely. We're gonna talk right after this for sure. But there's definitely there's a lot of things that are worth continuing to bring to light out of your
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. And I love the whole business of magic. And you see, if we were closer, I'd be around there straight away with a cup of tea, and we could talk for hours.
Definitely.
But you live about, is it 3,000 miles away?
Yeah. Well, see here it's 11:15, so you are I think +5 if I'm not mistaken.
I'm 415. Yeah,
4:15. So see, I
yeah.
was
So It's a long flight away.
Oh well, one day for sure. Because like I said, I'm not so much of I'm a homebody.
Yeah,
A lot of there's a lot of invitations that have been put out to be able to travel and meet people. So for sure, I'm going to get my
yeah.
visa out and
Oh, fantastic. Well, that's the way to go. That's the way to go. Well, Steph,
well, thanks. Yeah,
I think, looking at I've got about 8% left, so it's going to conk out in a minute, the battery. So we're lucky to have made it this long.
excellent. Well, listen, thanks again for your time. And for everyone listening, for sure, tune into Paul's your website. It's Paul Davis.
Gordon dot, no, Paul Gordon. Yeah, Paul Harris. PaulGordon.net.
Excellent. So
Yeah,
thanks again, and we'll keep in touch.
bless you. All the best. To anybody watching, bye bye.